Stadium on this fine Saturday night as Indiana knocks off Idaho with the final score 56-14. Big question: how are they going to respond after last week's beatdown in Iowa City? And that question was answered here tonight. We've got a great glimpse of the defense and special teams. Man, oh man, did they put on a show offensively? We'll talk about that. They didn't do a lot. They didn't have to do a lot, but they didn't do a lot. On this, with the exception of Stephen Carr, great night for him. He had close to 100 yards before halftime, a little over 80, and he goes over that century mark. But a great night all the way around for this Indiana team as they win big, like I said, 56-14. Game was never in doubt. It was kind of it reminded me of last week, to be honest with you. Iowa jumped out to a fast start and kind of put Indiana on their heels, and they couldn't catch up. This was the same type of game, but the exception here is Indiana's defense and special teams just did not let up. They kept coming like a tiger after fresh meat. And it was fun watching those guys. It was fun watching people like Jovan Swan catch a touchdown, then turn around and see him get a block punt in for a score. The first time Indiana special teams have scored 2 touchdowns in a game since 1969 against Kentucky. 1969. I mean, that's just crazy to see all those kind of things. We keep seeing these records fall by the wayside. That was one we didn't expect to see. But after last week's game, Tom Allen said in the post-game presser that he talked to the defense. And he told them he expects them to set the tone for this team for the season every game out, as well as the special teams. And they both did that tonight. They did it in a big way. On the offensive side, Michael Penix, he ended up with 68 yards through the air. He was 11 of 16, 2 touchdown passes, and he scored 1 on the ground. So an okay night. Statistically, he had 145 quarterback rating. But there were still some throws that were just way off. Just didn't look quite there yet. And we'll see next week. If Indiana's defense and special teams can continue doing what they're doing, it's not going to be as much of an issue. But this offense has got to continue to move forward with Michael Penix. Stephen Carr, like I said, what a great night he had. Man, oh man, bust out there looking good. Had some bursts of speed, run bursts, 26 yards, I think, twice. I think he had two runs of 26 yards. That's something we haven't seen in a few years from the Indiana offense in that running game. So continued improvement along there. And I think you'll continue to see Michael Penix get better and better. He's coming back with an injury still. And it's not the injury, it's the mental aspect of it, all that we talked about last week. But they looked better this week. Jack Tuttle comes in. And man, oh man, how about him? In one play, he gets 76 yards, more yards than Penix would have all night. And he would finish the night with 91 yards passing on just 4 completions. So there you go. And a touchdown. So good for him. Good to see that. Opened the game with a rushing touchdown, like I talked about Stephen Carr. He really, really did a great job. And Tim Baldwin Jr., eight attempts, 25 carries. But the running game looked good tonight. Michael Penix, like I said, he was 11 of 16 for 68 yards. He got one to Freifogel, and I forgot. Swinton, I think, was the other catch. Tuttle, also the offensive line. Man, they gave up back-to-back sacks in the sequence that really looked bad. They did an okay job, but again, they weren't asked much tonight. They weren't in there a lot of the time because the defense was doing such a great job. They were having to spend a lot of time on the field. They were taking the ball away and scoring and having to go back out and play. So it's going to be interesting to see what this offensive line does next week. They're getting better, but they still had some issues we saw with giving up those 2 sacks. Like I talked about defense and special teams, man, a blocked punt for a touchdown. Devin and DJ Matthews, how about that 81-yard punt return? Electric. And not only did he return a punt, most of the time when the guys return a kickoff or a punt, they get past a wave and then they're gone. He seemed like he was going through traffic the entire time until he finally broke away with about 15 yards to go. But John, I'm not sure. I forget who clips we have from. I think Stephen Carr, who had a tremendous night. Let's hear from Stephen, see what he had to say.
I appreciate the comments, and I got a good verse. I appreciate it. But I love seeing more from the receivers. You know what I mean? We have a great receiving core. So if the run game could open up the passing game, that's amazing. You know, we always want for that. And, you know, it also falls right back to the run game. If the passing game opens back up, the run game will excel also. And You can't ask for more. You want to see your receivers eating. That means your quarterback's playing good. You want to see the run game working. That means the offensive line is putting the dots together, putting all the pieces together, which allows for everybody to have a good game, a successful game. We just got to stay attention to the details, you know.
There's Stephen Carr, the USC transfer, and like I said, this offense has needed a running game. We saw some flashes last week. We could see that he has some the ability to get out and go, and tonight showed that a little more. And if this offensive line will continue to improve and open up some holes, that running game is going to continue to be an integral part of the offense. When I asked that question to Stephen, he talked about what it does for the rest of the offense, and that's what he was talking about, getting the offense, the receivers involved, opening up the passing game, and he knows how critical the running game is to that. So a big game for him tonight. And then I think it's Jovan Swan. John, we have the other clip from?
It was Javon Swinton. Javon Swinton. Javon
Swinton, rather. Jovan Swan. I keep saying Jovan Swan, Javon Swinton. Too many names running together tonight. But, yeah, Swinton. How about that? Special teams tonight, just electric. They were all over the field. And to see these guys involved, so many guys involved tonight. Different names. A.J. Barner blocks the punt. And then he catches a 76-yard touchdown from Tuttle. But he blocks the punt, I think, that Swinton ran in. But let's hear what he had to say.
I think he definitely has put it behind him. I feel like he's upped his energy, and that's made us up our energy. Because at the end of the day, like, we're behind Mike. Our quarterback is one of the biggest parts of our offense. So that's just him, like, showing how, like, he just stays so focused. Like, he put that game behind him just like the rest of us did, and like just his motivation and determination to get better from week one is what got us going.
And there you go. A big game for Indiana tonight as they will welcome in a top 10 Cincinnati team next week. We really wondered what the response was going to be. Of course, they weren't playing a big-time team here. This team did win 68-0 last week, although it was over a law firm, as Tom Fisher said earlier this week on my show, Simon Fraser. But you have to feel good when you see a defense play like they did. I don't care who they're playing against. They were flying around the ball. They were doing good things. You can tell they took this past week to heart. Tom Allen, as I said at the top of the show, Tom Allen took the task them that they are going to have to set the tone for this season. And they are, and they did. Again, it reminded me of last week's Iowa game where Iowa just kept the pressure on. That's what Indiana tonight. They kept the pressure on, and I think that throughout the season, that's going to pay dividends in a lot of games. We see a lot of teams that don't have the greatest offenses, but if you have a bad defense, and by bad, I mean good. I was going to say the whole thing there, but a defense that is just smothering. And that's what they look like tonight. Again, I know they're not playing the toughest of opponents, but they were flying around the ball, and that gives them confidence. I think that's what you're going to see next week. I think Cincinnati is going to have to prepare more for Indiana's defense than their offense. For one thing, they didn't get to see a lot from their offense again, and so there's not a lot to see. But this defense is going to be problematic for Cincinnati, and I think that's what's going to be the key to watch next week, and we'll see how that goes. We'll have more to talk about that on Monday. We'll have the full pressers up, and we'll have continued clips out there. Tom Allen also spoke tonight. We'll have that up as well. But looking forward to it, and looking forward to see what Indiana can do following up on this big 56-14 win tonight here at Memorial Stadium. We'll get back to all of this on Monday. Make sure you join us on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. And don't forget, tonight's show brought to you by the great folks at Southern Stone Restaurant. That's located here in Bloomington on Patterson and Rogers. It's the home of the IU Coaches shows. Great place. Go make sure you go check it out. Southern Stone Restaurant, taking care of serving everybody in the Bloomington area. But it's where the coaches shows are going to be, and we thank them for help taking care of us here tonight. But, man, a great win for Indiana, 56-14. We'll be back on Monday to talk about more of this and the weekend's recruiting roundup as the coaches are out with their final fall scurrying. They checking out the prospects around the country. But until Monday, I'm Jim Coyle from Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and I will see you on the radio.